How y'all doing? Today we're doing a little work on the Mustang. Got a few things we need to do. Now, like I told you in the last video, this here Mustang is pretty well bone stock. Other than paint, wheels, tires, little exhaust work. And the problem with bone stock means it's still got all the emission stuff. I mean, it's got the air pump. It don't have no cats. So I guess it doesn't have all of it, but most of it's there. So what we're gonna do today is EGR delete, air pump or air injection, whatever they call it, delete. And I call it a delete because we're really gonna remove it, and we got a shorter serpentine belt to go around it anyway, so it ain't even gonna be there no matter how. So the first thing you gotta do here is remove this here chunk, well, this here chunk of intake tubing, and that reveals your check valves and all your tubing and everything down in there back to your crossover pipe, which that piece of crap, we'll talk about that here in a minute. Gets all that stuff revealed for you, and you'll notice once you get this particular delete done, them spark plugs are going to be so much easier to get to, and that's what we're going to do after we get done with this delete. And yeah, let's get started. Oh, there's the pump down there. I don't know if y'all can see if we can get there. There it is. That guy right there, and this air pump, that piece of crap. These things right here, they're called check valves, and they are the biggest pains in the butt ever. They're glued on there with carbon, and when the light goes off on your dashboard telling you those are bad, forget about it. And then EGR delete. This here's your EGR on the back side of your throttle body, your upper intake manifold, whatever you want to call that spot right there. The problem with this stuff, with the EGR, is it's vacuum driven. So is this here. So is the check valves. See, this right here is a vacuum line. And right there is a vacuum line off your EGR. You gotta plug all that stuff. Give you a little update where we're at here. So all we've done at this point is broke one vacuum line. That's how old this stuff is. I mean, it's just, this is supposed to be a soft line, and it just isn't. I mean, I can't believe, I've never seen vacuum line that hard before. This is crazy to me. But so what we've done so far is we've pulled vacuum line, pulled the vacuum line, undid a few hose clamps here, pulled these hoses off these check valves. Those hoses run down to the air pump right there. So next step, air pump just has two bolts, one right here, one on the bottom, and then the air pump's out of the way. Then you move on to the next step, which is fairly simple as well. There's a big hole down there now. Air injection pump is done. Well, done, it's out. This bolt right here is like a 6 or 7 inch bolt. I don't really know if it needs to go back in, but that looks like a bracket, so I'd put it back in there anyway, just be on the safe side. But it's gone. All the hoses are gone. I'm actually kind of impressed. These check valves look pretty new. These check valves are, if you don't know what they do, they're a one-way valve and that's that. It's a one-way valve. This bottom one goes down to the catalytic converters, and it does something with the what is it, iridium that's inside the catalytic converters. The fresh air that it pumps down in there does something with the iridium. This top one is connected to this tube back here. This one has a, I don't know if you can see the drop tube right there. Yeah, that drop tube right there. It goes into the back of this head, passenger side head, and then that tube on top goes across to the back of the driver's side head, and it pumps fresh air into the exhaust. And this beast is what does all the pumping. Now, this isn't one of those things that, like, you know, well, actually it does take quite a bit of force to move this thing. Oh, that thing's all sorts of grody, seized up. Huh, I'm glad that I took this off there now. A little more glad, I guess. Now this is where the conversation gets touchy, because it's an emissions thing, right? This thing is supposed to create less CO2 emissions from your exhaust pipe. Okay, when you go down to the clean air station, They put their little wand thing in the tailpipe, and it gives them a CO2 emissions reading, okay? Now I tell you to come down when you are at operating temperature, because all of your exhaust and everything has to be at temperature for this stuff to work. And what this stuff does, all this stuff does, is lowers the parts per million on CO2 emissions, okay? Whether that thing is there or not, your vehicle is going to expel that much CO2. It does not matter if that thing is there or not. So basically what's happening, let's say that, let's try to explain this the best that I know how. Let's say that your vehicle exhaust without the air injection pump is pumping, let's say 3 gallons per hour of air out of, you know, emissions, CO2 emissions out of the tailpipe, okay? Now, we'll add that air pump in, and now it's doing 4 gallons per hour. See what happened? It's just more coming out. It's all that is doing is pumping fresh air in to lower the CO2 as far as not even lower the CO2 emissions, it goes in just to lower the parts per million. There's just as much CO2 coming out. It just doesn't look like it. You know, it's just a fake thing. It doesn't do anything really. I mean, and on top of that, it pumps carbon back into your engine, right? That's what the EGR, that's what we're removing next. Now, this is the EGR, okay? You can see where it is. There's your throttle body, your upper intake manifold, your EGR. Again, vacuum runs off a vacuum, okay? What this thing does, EGR stands for engine gas recirculation, okay? So what this thing is doing is taking gas from the engine, pumping it back into your intake so that it will reburn to lower the carbon, to hopefully try and burn off some more carbon before it goes out the tailpipe. You know, if you're watching this and you know anything about carbon, you know that carbon is the best welder in the world. Carbon will stick anything together. It doesn't care what it is. So you don't want it recirculating in your engine. You want as much of it to come out as possible. Elseways, it screws up your engine. That's just the way it is. But American well, not even American manufacturer, automobile manufacturers in general can't actually lower, not back in these days at least, not back late 80s, early 90s, late 90s, early 2000s. Auto manufacturers did not know how to actually lower, not make it look lower, actually lower CO2 emissions. They had no idea how to do it, okay? So all they did was make it look better, okay? This car pumps out X amount of CO2. That's just the way it is. Okay, now that pump, that air injection pump, this EGR, does not change how much CO2 comes out of this vehicle. The only thing that does is makes the parts per million lower. Alrighty. EGR is off. That's what the EGR looks like. 3-pin deal in there, you probably can't see. 3-pin deal in there. Look at this though. Those holes ain't supposed to be black, that's all carbon. So that's what this thing does, is it punches carbon back into your freaking engine. It comes off back here. Ford is super awesome, and they did this top post here. It has you got to keep your nuts. Keep your 2 nuts, top and bottom. They are different. There are companies that sell EGR delete kits, okay? And what that does is when you buy that kit, they will send you a little deal that goes over that plug right there so that you don't get any engine codes. I personally, I don't know, maybe down the road I might get one just so I don't have an engine light. I don't know. Really not that big of a deal to me, Because that engine light, I mean, generally, when you have a check engine light in your vehicle, it has something to do with your smog. That's almost a guarantee. In my experience, at least personally, I've never had an engine light come on in any vehicle that had anything to do with anything other than the emission system. And that's just the way things have always been for me. Let's do a little recap here. So, air pump is out. No longer down there. All those hoses for it. 2 check valves are still in. Remember, one goes across the back, connects both heads together. One goes down to the passenger side catalytic converter, which is no longer in this vehicle. And we have done away with the EGR. Now the next thing we're going to do is put the EGR block-off plate on. Now the people over at Ford they're super awesome. Now, not really the type of person anymore that really discriminates against any one or other automaker. Oh, that's never gonna fit. Oh yeah, that's ½ inch too short, plus that hole's too small. Okay, so the gentleman down at the auto parts place lied to me. I don't know, he wasn't sure if this was gonna work or not. It doesn't. This piece here ain't gonna work, about ½ inch too short. So I'll take this back down to the parts store I got it from, get my money back. It's only like 10 bucks. About to build one. Build one out of aluminum. Go down to the hardware store. Get me, oh shoot, let's take some measurements. So we need a chunk of flat stock aluminum, 1.5 inch wide. Actually, let's not measure that thing. Here's wrong. Here's the EGR itself. We need well, we're gonna have to get a 1.5 inch wide chunk of stock. It sucks because we're gonna have to go down go down to the daggone hardware store and get a 4-foot piece of it, and I need 4 inches. So hopefully it's cheap. So we'll you know what, before we do that, before I leave the house again, let's check and make sure our new Serpentine belt actually fits. Well, new Serpentine belt don't fit either, so I'm gonna measure this old one, find out how big it actually is, and head back to the auto parts store with the belt, and hopefully they'll take that block off plate back, because I cut the crap out of the packaging. We'll see. Be back in a minute. So instead of doing my own inspection, I just listened to what I read online, and I went and I got a 65-inch belt for the air pump delete, and I actually needed a 68-inch. I read the thing wrong, but that is for a non-AC vehicle. This is an AC vehicle, so I needed a 75-inch belt for that. If you're doing a delete of any kind that takes away one pulley or more pull, whatever it is, take your serpentine belt off, all right, and run a string in the direction everything's supposed to go around, everything you want it to be around, and then measure that string. You know, so once you got it all done with the string, lay it down on the ground and measure it. Go to the auto parts store, tell them you need a 75-inch belt. Okay, serpentine belt. You get down there, it says right there, 75-inch. So this one should work pretty well. We're gonna slap this one in here. All right, y'all, I just want to catch up with you here real quick. I kind of shifted gears because I bought the wrong serpentine belt again. So I need like a 78-inch serpentine belt, about. So I'll have to go back to the auto parts store here in a little bit. I don't feel like going back. They've been busy all day and everything. But what I did was spark plug wires on driver's side, spark plug wires on the driver's side. One thing that really bugs me is messy spark plug wires. Okay, now show you guys the wrong way to do it first. This right here, you just, you know, roll all of them together under one zip tie up to, you know, this is just a AC hose, but you know, it's beyond the point. And you know, then you just call that good. You know, and these particular wires are long enough that none of them are actually touching any of the header tubes or anything, which I'm kind of surprised about. But most of the time you see guys do this and then they end up burning spark plug wires. I mean, heck, I've done it in the past. However, I have learned from my mistakes, and now, you know, I hate doing it, but I have to at this point. This is the second time I've done it. And that's build my own spark plug wires. You know, I buy just a length of, you know, well, one end's already on them, the 45s are already on them. I put the other ends on them, cut them to length, do everything. Just doing it that way, you can cut them a little longer, and I personally like to have a little more room to play with than, you know, what the stock ones usually give you. And then the other thing is separators. A lot of people go down and they spend a stupid amount of money on separators, and I just do this zip tie thing. You know, I learned this from YouTube show series, whatever you want to call it, Roadkill. I seen them do this on there. It works great. You know, I mean, keeps your wires apart, keeps them maintained, keeps them out of the way, everything. I mean, it's you can't complain about it. It's great. So that's the way that I do my spark plugs now, and my wires. And then for gaps, a lot of people, oh, you don't need to worry about the gap. Okay, you do need to worry about the gap. And really, you just go buy one of these little guys, little key ring deals, and it tells you in points what the gap is. And you just do it that way. Okie dokie. We're gonna get back after this emissions delete that I was doing. So what I've done is I went and bought myself a chunk of 1.5 by 1/8 inch aluminum stock, 1/8 inch thick. And what I did was I took the gasket from the EGR and I used that as a template. No, that's the wrong way. I used that as a template, and I've just created my own block off plate. No, it's not pretty. No, it's not anything special, but it'll work for what I need it to do, and that's all that matters, because the one that Mr. Gasket says is supposed to work for this car doesn't. It's too short. So I made my own. It's oblong, it's kind of goofy looking, but it will cover the hole, and that's what we want it to do, is cover the stinking hole. So I'm gonna go see if it fits. It's on the back of the intake manifold anyway, so why do I care if it's pretty or not? So I'm gonna go see if it fits the way that I got it now. I measured the hole. One hole is a 5/16 and the other hole is like an oblong to goofy 3/8. I just did a 3/8 hole in it, and hopefully that'll be good enough. You absolutely cannot see it, but well, that's a good thing. So right here in this giant opening, there used to be a big old thing called an EGR. Not there no more. Got the plate in it. Next thing, this top hose is the crossover. Not this one. This is an AC line. This one, that top one, that's crossover. That's the exhaust thing we talked about yesterday. Has, you know, both the heads hooked together. What I'm gonna do, what I'm gonna try to do is I may try to take this check valve off and plug it from that end like that somehow. And if that does not work, I will cut it and put a bolt down in there and weld it, or unless I can thread the bolt in, then I'll just thread the bolt in. But yeah, see how this goes. Alright guys, here we go. Air pump's gone. Finally found me a Serpentine belt. It's like the 4th or 5th freaking belt that I had to buy before I finally found one that fit. This particular one is, I believe it's just a touch over 77 inches, like 77.3, something like that. It works for now. I do need to get a shorter belt though. This belt is just a hair long. It's just a hair close on the tensioner right there, and I want a little more of a gap there, and I want to go down. Probably going to go down to like a 76, and if I can find like a 76 and a half, I think that'd be just freaking perfect. But it's all in there so far. I mean, I've been driving the car. You know, it's a few days later now, so I have the 2 check valves blocked. I just put a couple chunks of hose on, jammed some old spark plugs down them, and clamped it all up for now, because this bottom one will go away when I get the X pipe, and then this top one will go away at some point. I may end up taking it off and doing, a lot of guys will cut them, and then the spot where it's actually attached to the heads, they'll flip them over and put the passenger side on the driver's side and the driver's side on the passenger side, but they'll put them on backwards so that it's actually like a plug, like a cap type of thing. You can see up here this mess of hoses. The other day I had the heater core blew out on me, so I just put the heater hoses, you know, back to each other so that I don't have to replace the heater core right now, which I will do eventually, but summer's coming, so I'm not really worried about having a heater. Yeah, I got all that stuff done. That's all out of there. Air pump's out, and the thing about it is it just cleans up the engine bay so much on that side. Like before, trying to do these plug wires on the passenger side with all that crap there, man, it'd take forever and it'd be next to impossible. But just removing that one thing, so much easier. As far as my opinion on the air pump delete thing, doing the air pump delete, just spend the extra 60 or 70 bucks, whatever it is, and buy the delete kit. It comes with a pulley that goes where the pump used to be. Just do that. It makes it so much easier. Save you a lot of time as far as, like, you know, trying to find the right belt for the car now that pump's gone, with the AC and this, that, and the other. It's like, it's just so much easier to just spend those few extra dollars. Because, and if you're worried about horsepower, I mean, honestly, you think, like, I would assume 4 to 8 ounces is the resistance from that pulley that they send you. They replace the pulley that just sits there. All it is just like an idler, pretty much. I would say 4 to 8 ounces is going to be the resistance. You know what the resistance on this air pump over here is? That thing's probably, mine particularly, I would venture to say it's up like 5 to 8 pounds. Not 5 to 8 ounces, 5 to 8 pounds of resistance. That thing is freaking stiff. It's like on the edge of seizing. So I'm glad that I pulled it out, but if I did it again, and I probably will do it soon, I will just buy the delete kit and install that pulley down there, because it's so much easier to go to the parts counter when this, you know, 20,000 miles is roughly what you need when you need to change your serpentine belt. 20,000 miles from now, I go down to the parts counter, tell the guy, hey, I need a serpentine belt for a 1989 Mustang GT with AC. And he punches it in, and he comes up with a part number, he go gets it off the shelf. This way, I have to go down to the parts counter. I have to tell the guy, I need a 76 and a half inch serpentine belt, 6 rib. And I'm gonna get something along the lines of, what kind of car is it gonna go in? It's for a 1989 Mustang GT, but it's not the right belt because I took the air injection pump out of it. Oh, well, I can't help you. I haven't worked here for that long, and I just don't know the system that well. I don't know how to find that. Can you go on the back and see if you find a belt that says 76 and a half on the label there? Yeah, give me a minute. And 20 minutes later, Schmuck comes back with a belt that's not even close to, oh, this is the closest one I got. It's 79 inches. So, just buy the freaking delete kit. Anyway, thank you all for watching. If you enjoyed the video, hit the subscribe button, hit the like button. See y'all in the next one.